Welcome back to the Antioch Church YouTube channel. This is Pastor Kevin. This is my third message in my awesome April series, Bloom Where You Are Planted. It's easy to say, well, if I just lose 10 pounds or get that new job, then I'll be happy. Or if I buy a new vehicle or go on that vacation, then I'll be happy. Or when it's the weekend, I'll be happy. When it's summer, I'll be happy. When it's fall, the holidays, I'll be happy. Or I'll be happy when I get out of debt. I'll be happy when I get this, that, and the other. It's good to have goals and things to look forward to, but we need to grow in our faith, deepen our faith, and enjoy life where we are right now before God moves us on to the next blessing, the next chapter of our lives. So how do we bloom where we are planted? How do we survive and thrive right where we are in life? I want to turn to 1 Kings 19. In 1 Kings 19, verses 1 and 2, the evil queen Jezebel threatened the life of the man of God, Elijah. Elijah has scored a great victory over the false prophets of Baal, but Queen Jezebel was after him. So 1 Kings 19 verses 3 and 5 says, Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, get up and eat. So he got up and ate and drank, and the food gave him enough strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. Now, a broom tree, as you may know, is a fairly large desert shrub that grows across Arabia and throughout the Judean wilderness. It's a shrub, but deep roots draw in the moisture of land that is otherwise barren. In the Bible, desert shrubs such as the broom tree appear to provide someone a safe place to be alone and talk to God and be restored. So right here, when Elijah, a powerful man of God, a firm, strong believer, when he lost all hope, when he was all spent, when he was burnt out, when he saw nothing good in his life, he walked into the wilderness, he sat down under one of these broom trees, and he prayed, and he ate food, and he was restored. Do you have your own broom tree? A place where you can go, be alone, like I was saying in my last video, have quiet time, talk to God, eat, be restored. We all need our own broom tree. The book of Genesis describes a young mother, Hagar, who was sent away into the wilderness in Genesis 21 after she gave birth to Abraham's son. Abraham's wife ran her off. When she was homeless and destitute, she placed her son under a broom tree for shade and comfort and sat down and wept. God saw her tears. An angel came and talked to her and helped her. Do you have your own proverbial broom tree? You need to come to a point where you get somewhere in your bedroom, in your living room, in your vehicle, in your office, wherever you can go. Even going for a walk, talking to God and being real. A place where you can go and be alone and think and pray, like I was saying in my last video for Sunday, April 14th message. Matthew 6, verse 6 in the Message Bible describes your own personal broom tree. Here's what I want you to do. Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. Just be there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you will begin to sense His grace. I want to sense His grace when I'm burned out and I'm broke, busted, and disgusted. How about you? Do you want to sense His grace? Do you want to feel God's touch in your life? You got to get alone sometime, just you and God. Have your own proverbial broom tree moment where you just get very real about what's bothering you, about what's upsetting you. The message in this video is what to do when you're stuck. Your life is stuck. Maybe you have a physical debilitating condition and you're stuck at home. Or you're stuck in anxiety. You're emotionally stuck in anxiety or stress or fear. Perhaps you're familiar with the Old Testament story of Ruth and Naomi. Ruth's husband was killed, which made Ruth a young widow. Naomi, her mother-in-law, was also a widow. Naomi moved in with Ruth in Bethlehem. They were poor. Destitute. On the edge of survival. But Ruth kept her faith and didn't give up. Ruth went every morning into a wheat field after a barley harvest. And after the people, the workers, picked most of the barley off of the trees, Ruth picked up the leftover wheat that the workers had missed. She went through basically picking up the leftovers of wheat. For Ruth, that wheat field was her broom tree, a safe place where she could go, probably talk to God, and eat and be refreshed. One morning, the owner of the wheat field noticed Ruth. He told his workers to leave handfuls of wheat on purpose for Ruth. Now Ruth had more wheat than she could imagine. Lots and lots of food. The owner of the wheat field, Boaz, fell in love with Ruth. And after they were married, Ruth became co-owner of the wheat field. She went from being poor, destitute, broke, busted, and disgusted to being co-owner of the wheat field. Their son was Obed. Obed's son was named Jesse. And Jesse was the father of King David. So Ruth became the ancestor of the greatest king that ever lived in Israel. The great-grandmother of the greatest king of Israel, King David. God turned the lack into abundance. But you know what? It all began with Ruth, making small decisions here and there, going through a wheat field, picking up leftovers when she had nothing. Ruth, when she had every reason to complain and feel sorry for herself, and say, look at me, look at my life, where are you, God? Instead, she kept her faith, didn't give up, and made a choice every day. Picked wheat off of the wheat field, one piece at a time, to feed herself and Naomi. One positive choice every day. In this video, I'm asking you, what is at least one positive choice that you can make today, right now in your life? Perhaps you're stuck in some way in your life, physically unable to get around, having a debilitating condition, or maybe you're emotionally stuck in anxiety, panic attacks, worry, fear. Don't think about how to solve all your problems. Don't think about how to solve one problem. Just think about one positive choice that you can make right now. For example, saying, thank you, God, for this day. Getting showered, getting dressed. Then eating a meal. Making your coffee. Don't think about all the steps. Just do one thing. Think about one step. That's how it was for Elijah under his broom tree. He did one thing. He lay down. Then he prayed. He asked to end his life, but he talked to God. Then he got up and he ate. Then he got up and he traveled to the mountain of God. One small positive choice. What is one thing that you can do right now to make your situation better, to bloom where you are planted, to make your life better? What's one thing that perhaps you can do to make your marriage better? What is one thing that you can do to make a friendship better? What's one thing that you can do to help you get along better with your daughter or son or grandchild? Don't try to figure out the entire problem. Don't think about all the things you have to do. Just choose one thing you can do. Get in your car, get going, get to work. One positive choice every day. But we all need to have our broom tree, a place where you go. Could be someplace simple as your bedroom, your living room, your vehicle, your break time during your work shift, where you can get real about how you feel and talk to God, have some food, and begin to kind of reset yourself, restart your day, restart your attitude. Sometimes you have to create your own broom tree. Check this out. Morris Goodman was a successful insurance salesman. So successful, he bought himself his own airplane. On March 10th, 1981, during his first solo flight in his new craft, the engine stopped and he crashed and his spine was crushed, leaving him unable to walk, talk, swallow, breathe, or move any part of his body except for his eyelids. He could blink, nothing else. Spinal cord crushed. Swallowing reflex was destroyed. Diaphragm was crushed. Couldn't breathe on his own. His doctor said that he might be able one day to see and hear, but speech was unlikely. And he'd have no movement from the neck down. But Morris Goodman had a different idea. Laying in that hospital bed, that became his broom tree. He couldn't move on, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go to work or home. So he had to make that hospital room his place to get with himself and get with God. Years earlier, Morris Goodman had read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which says things that could also be found in the Bible. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That sounds like Jesus when he said, whatever you pray for, believe that you have received it and it'll be yours. Mark 11:24. How often did Jesus say, if you believe and you pray, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer? Well, Morris Goodman thought of those teachings, and he began to imagine himself normal again. He began to imagine himself walking out of the hospital. Because again, Mark 11:24, Jesus said, believe that you have received something and it'll be yours. How do you believe that you have received something? You begin to see it in your mind first. At least that's what he did. He began to believe that he would make a full recovery, no matter what the doctor said. He kept on daily imagining himself standing up, imagining himself walking out. Anyone walking by Goodman's hospital room would have heard cassette tapes playing of his favorite motivational speakers like Zig Ziglar and the professional coach and motivational speaker Bob Proctor, and the pastor and positive thinking author Norman Vincent Peale. If you recall, Norman Vincent Peale was the one who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. It's all about using the Bible's teachings to apply to your life, to motivate yourself, to inspire yourself to be able to improve every area of your life. He filled his mind with the teachings of Norman Vincent Peale and the Bible verses and Zig Ziglar. He could not allow anything to come into his mind that would distract him from his goal and his vision. Hooked to a respirator, they said he would never breathe on his own again. But a little voice inside of him said, breathe deep, breathe deep. And we know who that voice was, right? He said, I believed with all my heart and soul that I would one day be normal, not hooked to machines, not silent, not fed through tubes. Well, that's faith according to Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. He said, I refused to think of quitting, even though I had no indication that this was doing any good. Well, long story short, the crash happened in March, and on May 25th, he was taken off the respirator. He spent hours in physical therapy, relearning motor skills, and then finally going from a feeding tube to eating salad food when they told him he never would. He wasn't waiting for something or someone else to bless him or help him or make his life better from the outside. He chose to bloom where he was planted. He chose to do what he could to improve himself and leaving the rest to God. Morris Goodman has set a goal that he'd walk out of the hospital without mechanical assistance before Christmas of that same year. Well, he beat that deadline by 1 month. He walked out of the hospital on his own and was home for Thanksgiving of that year. And although therapy was still ongoing after that point, it would still take another whole year and a half before he was able to button his shirt on his own. It wasn't quick. It wasn't easy. It wasn't simple. But he accomplished the goal. That is an absolutely true story. Nothing in that story is exaggerated. And I had decided a month ago to share this story with you. Morris is alive today and has a website. The point is that you are able to change your life. More importantly, from what I say, Jesus believes that you are able to change your life. Read it in your own Bible. How many times did Jesus tell people, your faith has set you free. Your faith has made you whole. Your faith has delivered you. Your faith has healed you. He always put the emphasis on your faith. Always. Not once did he say, God healed you. Not once did he say, I healed you. He could have. He didn't. He put it upon the Lord. You are able to change your life with your faith and making positive decisions every day. One good choice: go to bed an hour earlier. Put your phone down. Stop looking at it all the time and worrying yourself with the news and what's happening in politics and the world and all the wars and rumors of wars. Eat better. Have less soda, less fast food, less of the bad stuff. Eat more of the good stuff. Go for a walk every day. One positive decision every day. You can bloom where you are planted if God hasn't changed your outward life. If you have asked God, God, please remove this problem. God, please change the situation. God, please bring something into my life, this, that, and the other. God, do this for me. God, do that for me. And you don't see all these things changing. That's a sign that it's time for you to change what's in here and what's in here. Like Paul said in Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's where it begins. If you have prayed and asked God to change something outward about your life, something about your son, something about your daughter, something about your workplace, something about your home life, and it's not changed, it's time for you to bloom right where you are planted. I believe God has more in store for your life. That was my theme from my sermons back in January. And for 2024, God has more in store for 2024. Say it with me. God has more in store for 2024. I believe that. In February and March, we packaged more senior meals at the local Ozarks Food Harvest than in most months, any 1 month last year. So I absolutely believe that God has new blessings for you, new chapters in your life, new people to meet, new relationships and friendships, new experiences. But sometimes before you move on to the next thing, before you get that next thing that you want, sometimes you have to wait. And when you have to wait, that's when you need to bloom, flourish, thrive right where you are in your life. Even if your boss isn't the best, even if you don't love your job, even if you have neighbors that are not the best neighbors, even if you want to strangle your son or daughter or grandchild because they just won't listen. I get it. Even if those 10 pounds you may want to lose are stubborn 10 pounds. I get it. But before God moves you on to the next thing, before you reach your next goal, you may have to bloom right now. Be happy right now with yourself. Make peace with your life as it is before you go on to the next thing. Because let me tell you, college is not always better or more fun than high school. Marriage and married life is not always better than being single. Retirement is not always this blissful paradise, so much better than your work time. So let's stop always looking for the next thing, the next movie, the next Netflix show, the next thing to do. Let's find peace right now in your life. So think about what you don't like about your life. What is one choice that you can make now to improve the quality of your life, to flourish? I don't mean solve the problems in your life. I mean, what can you do to make yourself enjoy your life now? Think about Elijah under the broom tree. He prayed, he slept, and he ate. And that gave him the strength to walk 40 more miles, 40 more days, I should say, to the mountain of God. Being under the broom tree and the angel touching him didn't take away the threat, didn't take away Queen Jezebel threatening his life, but it gave him the strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to go on to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. Mount Sinai is a metaphor for whatever you're looking towards, whatever you want, retirement or losing weight or being out of debt, or I'm tired of being single. I want to date and fall in love, or I can't wait to get married. Whatever is your Mount Sinai, whatever is the thing that you're looking towards, that's great. Have the goals, but before you do, have your own broom tree, a place where you can go, rest, talk to God, put down the phone, and just eat and be restored and get real with yourself and get real with God. Being under the broom tree did not remove Elijah's problems. Being under a broom tree did not remove Hagar's problems in Genesis. But it will give you the strength and the comfort and the peace that you need to thrive and flourish and enjoy the here and now. Time is the one gift that once spent, you can't get more of. You can earn more money, you can buy more clothes, get a new car, buy a new house, re-roof your house. You can't get time back. Can't get more of it. So ask yourself right now, what can you do right now to be at peace with yourself and at peace with God? Pray, eat, sleep, and take one positive faith step. If Morris Goodman could do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If Elijah can do it, you can do it. This is how you bloom where you are planted. This is how you have the comeback that follows the setback. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give a like to this video and subscribe to this channel. If you are not saved, if you do not have a relationship with God, now's the best time. This video is the best video for you to watch. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Somebody important in our church died just 2 days ago. It was unexpected, but he's gone. He's in heaven, guaranteed. Do you have that guarantee that you know in your heart that when you breathe your last breath, you're going to heaven? If not, now's the time to get saved. If you want to get saved and begin or continue a relationship with God, pray after me. Dear God, I come before you. I confess my sins. And go ahead and confess your sins. I ask Jesus into my heart as my personal Lord and Savior. Forgive me of my sins. Thank you for forgiveness. Thank you for eternal life and saving me from eternal destruction. Thank you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that for the first time, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below in the comment section or email me at antioch.methodist@mchsi.com. Thank you so much for being here. You are a blessing. I will see you on my next video in our awesome April series. Thanks again for watching. God bless.